first episode in our Pioneers series. Shannon couldn't join me today, so I'm flying solo. I'm here to discuss uh, Justin Darch Jr., a, um therapist in civil rights and disability rights advocate. Um, Mr. Justin Dart Jr. was born August 29th, 1930, to a well-to-do family, um, part of the Walgreens um, dynasty. Um, Mr. Dart contracted polio at the age of 18, uh, where he wasn't expected to live past 3 days of contracting the disease, but he was able to pull through. And up until this point, he was a, some would say, loser, self admittedly loser, because he dropped out of 7 different schools um, throughout his youth. Um, this uh, diagnosis of polio would open his eyes to uh, being nicer to people and accepting help from his family and close friends. In 1950 to 1954, he would go on to um, the University of Houston, where he studied to be a teacher, but because of his uh, wheelchair, he was denied his uh, degree in teaching or his certificate in teaching. Um, in 1955 or 56, he started a business in um, Mexico and Japan, um, putting uh, disabled people and women to work as putting together Tupperware. And in 1966, he would go to Saga, um, Saga, Philippines, or Saga, Vietnam, to um, oversee a polio hospital, and there he would see some horrible things in the youth and just people being neglected. in the hospital. This is a turning point in his life where he decided not only to be a civil rights advocate, but to double down on disability rights as well. Um, After he got home from Saigon, Vietnam, he went to Washington to work under several um presidents, from President Reagan to President Bush, um becoming uh the vocational rehab um rehab um head for a period of time. And he would become the head of the committee for disabled people with disabilities by way of President Reagan as well, and President Bush. This would propel him to um, tour the country, um, meeting several groups and individuals that would form the basis for what would become the ADA, or what would first become the first draft of the ADA, called the ADA Diaries. 5,000 um letters and signatures from across the country, um demand, demanding changes to some of the more atrocious laws and more accessibility to much of the country. Um, him, he, and his wife, Yusha, uh, Yushoka, would um tour the country 3 times, and each time getting more and more signatures, bringing stacks and stacks back home to Washington. And the Council for Disabled People um would then, um with help from several senators and congressmen, um they would help form what would turn out to be the American Disabilities Act, which on July 26th, um, 1990, was signed in the on the south lawn of the White House, with um Justin Dar on the stage with President Bush. It is people like Justin Dar that don't give up, and they are able to get things passed by their today tenaciousness and never giving up. A great story about that is that during the um putting together of the ADA, just would meet with a staff chief of staff for President Bush, George H.W. Bush. Uh, he would meet with this uh, chief of staff every week for like 2 years. They would go to dinner, and the chief chief of staff would have to carry him up the stairs to every restaurant they ate at. Justin did that to make a point to the chief of staff, and by the end of it, um, Justin came to him and was like, "Do we have to go to dinner anymore?" And that chief of staff looked at him and said, "No, I'm tired of lifting you upstairs. So the president will sign your legislation into law." So it's these tenacious people that do not give up on anything, that they are the reason we are here 31 years later. Now, there is much more work to do, but compared to where we have been, I say we're doing good. we would like to see more um more work for people with disabilities. That is a key component of the ADA that is highly lacking, and um, there needs to be change there. I'm happy to see um, there have been um, changes more in the recent years, but um, there needs to be a higher amount of people that are given the chance to work. Um, and that is not just the only area that needs fixed, but we are happy for what we or glad for what we do have now, but there's much more that needs to be uh fixed. Um, Justin would go on to start the American Association of Disabled People, which is an advocacy group, and it brings people from all walks of life together uh, to um to share a wide range of stories and um to- topics around the disability community. Um and the um sad thing about Mr. Dart is he lost his battle to post polio syndrome in 2000, um 2002, but his um message of never giving up is one that still rings true to this day. He is known as the father of the ADA and the grandfather of the um dis- disability rights movement. I'm not saying it's because of, I'm not only saying that it's because, because of the work of Justin Darden that he got, the ADA got passed. It's the work of many people in the disability movement. They got, the ADA got passed, such as Judas Human, such as uh, James Brick, and um, um, the Disabled in Action Group, um, which we will discuss in um, further detail in other podcasts in this series. I just wanted to touch on um, Justin's story to kick the Pioneer series off, and um, we will come back with 7 more stories of people that have changed the disability community for the better when it comes to the ADA. And I will leave a link in the description for a good video in which you can learn more about the ADA and the um story, love story that is Yoshiko and Justin Dar. Because without her, um, there probably would not be a Justin Dar to get the amount of signatures needed for the ADA. She was working in one of Justin's um factories in Japan for Japan Tupperware when she met and then um later married Justin, and they were an awesome team and, until his death, and she went on to carry on his legacy. There is a Justin Darts Center at the University of Houston. It's the Justin uh, Dart Jr. Center for Disability Services, where people with disabilities can go for teaching help, basically, tutoring, um, and any other kind of services they could need. It's all in one spot. And with that, I will sign off and say I will see you next Monday or on the next Don't Burn the Day. And we will also have a, another episode of the Pioneer series here on Don't Burn the Day. This has been AJ, and I'm honored to tell the story of these great pioneers that have laid the groundwork for us. So I'd like to thank each and every one of you. Thanks. And don't burn the day, y'all.